Okay, we are live. Meeting, please come to order. Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
We have Commissioners Fleming, Levine, and Noonan present.
This proceeding is broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. Before any opening remarks, I'd like to move item 12 up to the front of the agenda. Item 12 is a resolution honoring Anil Desai. Who's going to present this resolution?
Let me call Marvin Moon up with Anil, and while they're coming up, and his sons are here.
Good.
Anil has been here 41 years. There's only 85 active employees that have been here over 40 years. I get some context to it, like our general managers like. Her dad actually was working when he first came to work here. He has lived through 20 general managers who have been, and he's still here and looks pretty good. So he has no need or interest in retiring. And actually, this is a picture of them when they first started in our badges back then. So he is an example of one of our terrific employees at JFB, and why we keep doing this. That he's done a great job, and his sons are here. And so I'll let me have Marvin take you through the presentation for him.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Wiggs. If you look at that ID tag, you see that the old ID tag actually looks like a driver's license with your height and weight and everything like that.
It does.
But anyway, I'd like to introduce Anil Desai. He's been with us, of course, 41 years. He's a structural engineering associate in our power system engineering group. And just as a little bit of background, Anil started his career with the department on March 14, 1973. Back then, Bob Phillips was the general manager, and he was part of the team of engineers that were doing the Van Norman reconstruction back in around after the earthquake. Right. After 6 years, he said, hey, there's more opportunity over in power, let's go over there. And he joined the structural engineering group in 1980. He's received his Bachelor of Civil Engineering from Borda, India in June 1964, and his Master's from Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Massachusetts, June 1968. And soon after that, he worked a little bit in the back east and worked a little bit out west, and he joined the department, and then 2 years after that got his professional license. His first assignment in power system was contract administration, buying all sorts of steel and other parts for structural activities. And he worked on the Intermountain Power Project when that was going full bore in the 80s. He's also worked at various switching stations, including McCulloch, Victorville, Adelanto, Marketplace. And he's also been the lead structural engineer for a number of projects, including Distributing Station 127, 138, and the Airway Receiving Station. He worked a lot after 94 in the earthquake damage that we had to a lot of our facilities. And currently he's busy with upgrades for Harbor and Haynes and the Scattergood Power Plant. He's here today with part of his extended family, Samir and Viren, his sons. His wife couldn't make it today. And he has 4 grandchildren as well. Now, I asked a little bit about what he likes to do in his spare time when he has some. And he's actually a professional keyboard player in the Indian community, and he teaches it too. So that's very exciting. So as of in June of 2014, this will celebrate 50 years of engineering work when we count all his jobs, including the 41 years here at the department. So please join me in recognizing Anil's long-term accomplishments and contributions to DWP service to the community. I'd also like to present to him his 40-year pin. I've never actually seen one of these up close. It's very nice. It has 4 little diamonds on it. So I'll just see if I can pin it on him, if that works. Right here. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Would you like to say a few words?
I have a pleasure of being here with commissioners, general manager, and our AGM water system, power system, and our staff and other members here. I had been having extreme pleasure coming to work every day, and over the years, I have really enjoyed working with my co-workers, my supervisors, working with other disciplines like purchasing when you have to work with annual contracts, and architects when it comes time for new buildings. And so in general, I would say working with electrical engineering group, mechanical engineering group, architectural and purchasing group, and overall construction people in also, once we issue our work package, I had to go out to the site and work with them. So they had been very cooperative, and all I can say is over the years, I had extremely good experience with all the members of our Department of Modern Power. And I appreciate you took time to honor me today, and this will be my real milestone. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, when I started with the department 32 years ago in water, and I was started out as a structural engineer, and they still remembered Anil from his water days back then. And in those days, the water system, we were kind of the stepchildren of the structural engineering world here at the department, because in the power system, they actually had licensed structural engineers, and you had to work for a licensed structural engineer to get your license. So we had this kind of chicken and egg thing going on. And Neil was one of the guys that had left, and he's, had his license, and he had a reputation as the go-to guy for structural engineering. Even like on day one when I got here, I was hearing Anil Desai's name. So he's got a very storied career here, and congratulations, Neil.
And Anil, on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, congratulations. The heart and soul of our department are spectacular people who have devoted so much time and energy and devotion to making this the wonderful department that it is, and you exemplify that. So on behalf of the Board, I want to thank you and congratulate you.
Thank you very much.
There's a motion. I move this resolution be approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimously approved. Congratulations. Would you come up here for a picture?
Sure.
Come on, around this
Go around.
Marcy, join us, please.
You want to bring your sons up? They can come up for a picture too.
Yeah.
Would you like to join us, please?
Yeah. And let's see, should the women all be on one side and the men on the other?
That's good, right?
Pretty damn good.
One of you on each side. That's good. All right, very good. Scoot in just a little bit this way. Take a tiny step this way. A little bit more. Everyone takes a tiny step. A little bit over. Right there, that's good. Yeah, I know. Okay. All right.
Sorry.
All right. Okay, very good. Nice. Okay, here's the first one. Good smile, everyone. That's good. See how that looks. Tilt that down. Okay, right there. Perfect. Okay, that's good. Nice. Big smile. Just want to make sure I get it. Tilt it down a little bit more. Reflection. You go again. Big smile. Tilt it up now. Just a little bit higher. Way up. Yeah. Bottom. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm just having a little problem. Okay, big smile. And okay, couple more. Good. And one last. That's good right here. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Can you get my two boys myself for just for them?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Can you take one more for me?
Sure, absolutely.
want me to tell me which
Put that right between the two. Yeah. Drop it down a little bit.
you guys.
There you go. Excellent. Right there. Very nice. Okay. Here's the first one. That's good.
Pictures of it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. Go again. Good. And one more. Big smile right here. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Michael.
All right.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Okay, we will now move to opening remarks, and I have none. We move to the report or briefing by the general manager.
I have nothing today, sir.
Comments from commissioners on agendized items and requests from commissioners relating to departmental operations. No, nothing. Public comment, we have one speaker card. Barbara?
Yes, the speaker is Dr. Tom Williams.
Good morning, Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council DWP Liaison. Nice to meet you, the new manager. We have had discussions before. Now, concerned about a couple of things. My traditional concern is $7 billion revenue, almost 10,000 employees or more. Where's the organization chart? Ratepayers Advocate tried to find one. We found various ones, but nothing with a stamp on it, nothing that seemed to have been approved by the board. So who's in charge? And who's in charge of what? And can we start with maybe a 5-tier or 6-tier, because it's a very large organization with many divisions, with many subdivisions and subdivisions and subdivisions. The best one I've found so far is actually down in the basement, the building directory. That kind of gives me a fairly good indication. Online, hey, this is 2014. Why can't we have a 5, 7, 8-tiered organization chart for this organization? We would also like to thank you for the use of your facilities on Saturday for the Los Angeles Neighborhood Council Coalition meeting, or monthly meeting, and that may be entertaining also. We're concerned about a few other issues, but those will be under agenda items. Primarily, one water, maybe one power would be an interesting aspect also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was the last card for 4.
Okay. Comments from the ratepayer advocate on agendized items.
None today.
Thank you. We're going to move to the consent calendar, and as a reminder, if you pull an item from the consent calendar, please indicate if you have direct questions that need to be addressed, or if you would like a full staff report. This will make the meeting move more expeditiously. Before going to the consent calendar, and also before going to the general calendar, let me note 4 deferred items. I'd like to defer item number 10 from the consent calendar at the request of the Department of Streets, who now desire to make additional enhancements to this project prior to seeking this board's approval. I'd also like to defer items 16, 17, and 18, which are the healthcare contracts. Given the fact that all board members have previously indicated an interest in this topic, I'd like to defer those items until the April 15th meeting, at which I believe the full board will be able to attend. So I'd like to make a motion to defer those 4 items.
I will not be attending the April 15th meeting.
Uh-oh.
And I do have questions, but I'll raise those directly with staff.
Okay, because those are big deal items. Is there a second on the motion to defer?
So you're not here on the 15th, and Madam General Manager, the timeline, Commissioner Noonan has questions about the healthcare measures. What's the clock that's running on the healthcare measure in terms of when we need to re-up the?
I know we can wait until the 15th. I don't know how much further past that. Shannon? No? We can go through one deferral. Apparently, we can't do two. We will, however, make staff available for whatever length of time you need to ask any questions or gain any clarification.
Unfortunately, we only have 3 people today. I'm not sure what option we have.
I second moving into the 15th.
Okay, with regrets, I call for a vote on the deferral. Those in favor?
Aye.
These 4 items are deferred. Okay, now to the consent calendar, which now includes items 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11. Does any commissioner wish to remove any item from the consent calendar?
Yes, I have specific questions relating to items 7 and 11.
7 and 11. Commissioner Fleming?
No.
So I move approval of items 6, 8, and 9. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Items 6, 8, and 9 are approved. So we go to item number 7. Commissioner Noonan, do you want to begin with your question, or should we have a presentation?
No, my specific question relates to the fact that we received 9 bids on this item, and all of them were deemed non-responsive. How could that be? And how did we fail the vendors to have that happen?
David, do you know, or do we need to ask Ms. Williams?
When you are in the facade.
Well, we had a number of them that didn't complete the detailed information sheets that are required technically.
Yes.
They're not.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bassam Abu Shakra, Power System Engineering. Yes, they all were non-responsive, but when we negotiated with the lowest bidder became responsive because he took technical exceptions, but then they conformed to the spec. And then they filled out the proper documents, so now they're fully responsive. Now, it's a good question. Why do they miss filling a form, or why they don't meet the spec?
But we're talking about all of them.
Yes, I
all
understand.
9 bidders
Yes.
came up as non-responsive. So I mean, was there miscommunication on our end? How could it be that 9 separate entities all failed the test of bidding properly on this?
Yes, and you can see that this this bid is 486R1, which is revision 1. We went out to bid previously, and they all also took exceptions. So we had another bidders conference, and we trained them on the ERSP system. We told them that, if you have any questions, please ask questions so we can respond. It's just sometimes it happens. They like to put in their own terms and condition. They like to put out their own technical information telling us what they want to propose. Now the question is, can they meet the spec? Can they meet the technical requirements? And the answer is yes. But they didn't do that when they bid. So when we negotiated, they agreed to meet our technical requirements, and they agreed to meet our terms and condition. It's just, I've seen it many times where companies, they just put in their own T's and C's, one-page documents. They don't read our spec. A lot of companies just don't read our spec. But the bottom line is they agreed to our terms and condition, and they agreed to our technical requirements, and now we're getting what we specified.
Yeah, and my concern is just to make sure that, we're having an apples-to-apples comparison. And so what's not outlined here is you chose the lowest bidder. How do we know for certain they're the lowest bidder? Were the other ones deemed non-responsive because of exceptions they made financially? I just think that, when we talk about the overall procurement process, we not only want to increase the audience, we want to make it more user-friendly for people to feel comfortable in participating in the competitive bid processing. And, a similar thing was brought up on item 8 in that we didn't have time to send out an RFP, which I understand how understaffed you've been. But this really, to me, just brings up big issues about procurement and how to make the process more seamless, user-friendly, and so when we do get the bids in, they are complete and we can compare true comparisons instead of just choosing the one with the lowest number and potentially not really doing a fair bidding when it comes to terms looking at everything from A to X. Does that make sense?
I believe we do have a workshop scheduled shortly at one of the upcoming meetings to go over the procurement process.
Oh, with the board? Mm-hmm. Yes.
It might be a good opportunity to present the structure under which we ourselves are statutorily required to provide bidding so that the board can see the type of documentations required, understand where we can be flexible and where we cannot. So I'd appreciate if you could include that. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Other questions about it? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Second? Those in favor?
Aye.
It's passed. Thank you very much. We go to item 11. Again, I will ask Commissioner Noonan to begin with her question or questions.
Good morning.
Okay,
Good
hi,
morning.
how are you? So, reviewing this item request, you make very strong statements like technology migration is one of the most challenging exercises for any large corporation. LADWP is no exception. Stating that, you go on to say that in the original contract, the department did not include any contingency time that would allow for any possible project delays. So, taking on something as complicated as this, I just find it very difficult to understand how there weren't more contingencies in place, how so many things were overlooked, like training our staff, the reports that you thought were not needed that you do feel are needed. What reports are those? I'll begin there.
Okay. The Maximal project is a very complicated one, and
Can you speak into the mic? It's hard to hear.
Yes.
You. And introduce yourself.
Sure. Jerry Ardalan, I'm the Maximal project manager. So originally, when this contract was put out to bid, we're talking about 4 years ago. Technology does change. As we're going through the project right now, we go through issues, we go through technology changes, we go through issues which we can't solve or we don't have an answer for currently, and that's one of the reasons we need time. The original contract was bid for 3 years. The 3-year period included 1.5 years of implementing the project, and then another 6 months and another 12 months for maintenance and support. So the bulk of the work was supposed to be done in the first 1.5 years. That was an aggressive schedule. It was too aggressive.
Who decided on that timeline? Because in the request you do state, that you implemented a very aggressive time frame. Was this decided by the department? Did the consultant guarantee you that the 3-year time frame was a reasonable timeline?
I believe that the team that put the RFP together, which was a cooperative agreement between IT, the power system, the water system, and even the joint system, we would have liked to get the project completed in 3 years. Once we got into it, and when we signed the agreement with the contractor, I believe the contractor, TRM, had agreed that they would complete the work in the 3-year period. But as we've gone through this, I've been with the project for a little over a year myself, and I could tell you that it has been much more complicated than I ever thought it would be. Taking a look at the issues that we have, it doesn't seem to be getting simpler, and we're still climbing the mountain, as I say, and we haven't started the downhill run yet.
I hear you, and I do feel much more sympathetic towards the department staff than I do to the consultant who's supposed to be an expert in this arena.
That's correct.
Dealing with these configurations. So where's the onus on the consultant and the promises that were made that this could be done in 3 years?
I would like to make one observation. If you, one of the items that was brought up was the longer than expected time to analyze as-is business practices to be able to then modify them into the system. There is no consultant who's going to understand how long it takes us to be able to do that type of work internally. It's just a different animal than a private business where you can set resources aside, you can analyze it. It just simply takes us, because of the fact that we're a bureaucracy as opposed to a company, a lot longer. And so I would say that this was more our misjudgment on how long it takes us to do something than it would be the consultants. Because I'm pretty sure in an outside agency you probably could get it done in that period of time.
I would just have anticipated that the consultant had worked with public utilities in the past. I would have imagined that they had done some due diligence investigating our systems before bidding on the job. I mean, was none of that done?
No, there were discussions prior to signing the agreement. But understanding how we do business is what the general manager is referring to for an outside company to understand how we do business and how we should change the way we do business to conform to how the standard of the industry is and how a utility should work. And that did take much longer than anybody had anticipated as well as the technical issues that we're dealing with.
Yeah, there were really two places, and one you can clearly put on the consultant, and they've sort of eaten a big chunk of the additional project management costs. They had two key people who had serious medical problems, and so there were some delays on their side associated with that, and they have taken on all the extra costs associated with that. There are some delays on our side in trying to meet a pretty aggressive schedule for when they give us a document to review to say, did we capture what you told us, to get back to those, because it involves a lot of people. And one of the things that we're doing in this project, which makes it hard, not only is it about our existing processes, but we're trying to harmonize a number of processes between the water system and the power system. And getting agreement sometimes on some of those things, how assets should be classified, hierarchy, so that you can look at similar assets similarly in both systems, is just taken more time than anybody expected to get to some consensus inside on some of those issues. So those are pieces we took. There are other things that are more technical. Because we are working with the supply chain side, the whole inventory management, and receiving, we found there was a piece that needed to be sort of custom built, because normally you would find this piece. We call it a cost difference register. It has to do with how costs may actually come in when they deliver something that's slightly different from what was bid, usually in our favor, but you have to reconcile all those. Normally that's all done in a modern financial system. Unfortunately, we don't have a modern financial system. And so many years ago it was decided we'll build that feature custom into our inventory system. So when we got to that, we spent a lot of time with Phil's organization saying, do we absolutely need this to move forward? The answer was yes. We couldn't, where it really belonged was really way outside the scope of the project, so they had an additional task to build this piece, and that's taken some time, and it's related to being able to migrate our inventory system over here. There were huge cleanups. I'm trying to remember the numbers. I think inventory items went from 200 and some thousand down to about 60,000. The other 140 were things that were just sitting out in the system that hadn't been used for years. Now, the question is, do you move those over? It's a lot of extra work to something you probably never touch. Or do you have staff spend the time cleaning that stuff up so when you move into a new system, you've got much cleaner data? But some of those things took more time than people anticipated to get done.
And one more thing is that we need to do this right, and that we are taking the time to make sure that it is done right, and we're not rushing per se to rushing the contractor or our folks to do something that's not right.
I totally agree. It needs to be done properly, but it also needs to be done cost effectively.
Correct.
And relating to that, I felt that the wording was very unclear. What's going on with the 6-month warranty coverage that was going to be provided in the original contract? Are we going to? It's
That's
something
the
about it
same.
being.
That's the same.
So just the dates are going to be extended.
Correct.
We're not paying again for this
No,
warranty.
because if we went live today, there would be a 6-month warranty and a 1-year maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a year and a half. The original contract was only good for 3 years, and we're not live yet. So that year and a half, we haven't hit that point yet.
Mm-hmm.
So for the 3-year extension that we're requesting, a good year and a half is going to be the maintenance and the support.
And is a 6-month warranty typical for this? This investment?
You'll normally
seems very
see
short.
3 to 6 months on software defects. And what the warranties generally mean is you have that much time to identify any defects. So you've been running it for 3 months, 6 months to identify defects. If you identify a defect in that time, they still have to fix it even if it goes beyond that time. It's really the period for identification of problems. And then it's kind of like thinking about it like an insurance. If you have the claim in by that date, it doesn't matter that it takes longer to resolve after the resolution, maybe after the policy date ends.
Okay, and we're going to be focused on trying to find any mistakes during that
You
6-month
bet.
window? Okay, good.
Prior to.
And prior to. A lot of user
Okay.
acceptance testing.
Yes.
That makes me feel better. My last question relates to the project management costs. You're requesting an additional $250,000. Is the project management, was this a separate vendor to the consultant, or is this somebody on staff?
No, that would be the vendor's cost, his basic overhead for any of the delays that the department has caused. So the compensation for their overhead, which would be their staff and their subconsultants.
Not for people sort of who are assigned to do a specific job, but really the extra management that's required because of the time extension. You have to keep the project manager on board all the time. You have to keep some of your QA people or testers on board.
And you've been satisfied with the project management services they provided thus far?
Satisfied, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one. I appreciate the fact that in here you note you're going to come back on a quarterly basis to give us an update on this.
Yes.
But I guess it's also a question for the general manager that we're going to keep running into this kind of thing, right, where outside folks who may not have a deep base of knowledge about a ginormous public utility underestimate the time it takes to implement new technology, for example. And staff has competing constituencies. They have commissioners, they have a general manager, they have folks internally, they have folks externally. How do we start? What measures do we need to kind of enforce so that folks have a more real, when they come here for the very first time with a contract, they have a more realistic sense about how long it's going to take to put something in place?
What would be extremely helpful is if we start from an up-to-date baseline. When a lot of these people come before you, it's been because the IT investments have not been made over the last 20 or 30 years. So they're not starting from first base. They're starting out in the parking lot behind 3 cars. And it makes it very difficult for them to quantify the lift, the difficulty, the cost, and the time to get up full to speed, as opposed to other agencies who have been doing it incrementally. I think for projects that have been updated within the last 5 years, those that then want additional enhancements, additional plugins, you bet we should set a real strong time frame, budget, and stick to it. But for those that I know are a reflection of a lot of long-standing complexities, I think we're just going to have to give those a little more room.
There are two things that we're looking at doing in terms of the next large project. One is not try to see if we can shoehorn it into the sort of the 3-year statutory limitation. I mean, the downside is then we're at council with it early on before people have really done full discovery. And there's some thought that if you can get what you think is a reasonable bid based on looking at other contracts, other projects similarly with other utilities, that then by the time you're really having to come back to board and council, and in this case council because you're going over 3 years, you've really got a very good detail of exactly where you are. And you can't capture that level of detail until you really get the system integrators heavily working on what it takes in terms of your business process and what it takes to migrate to a modern system and use sort of accepted best practices. But I think we're going to see us going more for let's just bring it in at 5 years and not, or whatever it needs to be, not worry about that. The other one is to do a little more work around contingencies. There is a lot written on large IT projects that fixed cost bids really are extremely difficult, both for the organizations and for the contractors. But nobody seems to have come up with a much better system for a public agency yet. But one way we can do it is try to be a little more clear on contingencies, and they may be a little bigger, but we may be able to define them to certain areas. So a contingency for unanticipated complexities in interfaces, which is one of those areas. But if we don't run into that, then that part of the contingency we just don't touch. So there's some things we may be able to do when we bring the next big project contract in to you to help better mitigate or manage some of those risks in the contract structure.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. It's approved. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, we move from the consent agenda to the regular agenda, and we begin with item 13, system support approval of amendment number 1 to agreement number 47178-3 for identity management infrastructure enhancement services with Application Software Technology Corporation.
Matt Lamp, CIO.
Mark Townsend, Assistant Director of ITS.
So this basically amendment is to correct a problem that happened in the contracting process. When we put this out to bid, we put it out for a fixed price that included all the travel. When we came in to negotiate the contract, supply chain said they really didn't want us to do that. We had experience with contracts where we had done it that way. For example, the Price Waterhouse contract. And we had experience recently with the 5-point contract where they did a reimbursement. And what we found for the reimbursement every month for I think about 12 consultants, we ended up with a stack of paperwork about this thick. And literally you had somebody on our side spending days going through and verifying every $6 receipt, everything, against our travel policies. Enormous amount of time, and when you'd get done, you might see $50, $100 found in this whole stack of things.
Only cost you $10,000 to find it.
Right. So we were trying to find an alternate way, and we were trying to do that. What we ended up with in this contract was to basically still reimbursement, but they can use sort of our per diem guidelines. So at least it reduces the amount of that paperwork, but not eliminate it. In the process of that, what happened was, as they were adjusting the amounts, they dropped out the actual money that was for the travel reimbursement. So the contract now has the travel reimbursement money. It has the amount they bid for the work, but it left out the amount that was supposed to be there as the pool for them to be able to draw their reimbursements against. And it was a clerical error or administrative error in the process, and this amendment basically frees up the money, gives us back the money that was within their original bid to be able to reimburse them for the travel.
Any questions or comments?
I do.
Commissioner Noonan.
Okay. It shows that this contract was executed in June of 2013. Have we done an audit as to the expenditures relating to travel from Chicago to Los Angeles? How often do we have their professionals coming out here to assist us? It just seems like a very large allowance in comparison to the overall contract. And when you think about domestic flights to and from LA to Chicago, I'd be curious as to how much time their staff is spending traveling here.
Well, they do spend a fair amount of time. One of the things in this contract, because we really wanted our staff to be, this is really an upgrade, a little bit of re-architecting of the identity management system, which essentially is our core security around users. Okay. But we want, because our staff has been very, very involved now in operating the previous version, we wanted our staff to do a lot more of the work on this system. So rather than having them here continuously, which was actually a higher cost approach, we have them come in for a period of time, sort of set the next stages of work for our people to do, come back, check it, and keep staging it. So there's a little more travel, but actually a little bit less consultant time at their hourly rate on the ground. So when even with this amount of travel, when we bid them, their costs were well below some of the other firms that bid.
Is that why we chose to go with a Chicago firm instead of a local firm?
There were multiple things. There were two, as I recall, and this is going back a ways, there were two firms that were highly qualified with good experience with utilities. And if I remember correctly, the other firm, even though they had some more local resource, was somewhere in the range of 40 to 50% higher total cost. So cost was a factor, but these people also had extremely good experience and appropriate certifications and work with the software company, have that kind of relationship you need so that if there are issues, you can go directly into the development organizations and resolve them.
Okay. I think personally in the future, I can understand why the staff doesn't have the time nor the inclination to go through mounds and mounds of receipts. At the same token, I do think it's important that they do provide you just with their airline receipts.
Oh, yeah.
And that is audited and provided.
Right. Airline, hotel, et cetera.
In the future, when you're comparing whether or not to house them here for a week for training versus flying them in and out, if you've done the analysis, I think it'd be helpful for the board to be able to see it.
Very good.
Thank
you. Yeah, just to be clear, things like the travel, the hotels have to stay within our per diem rates, et cetera. Where we were able to reduce the paperwork was on looking at every meal receipt, et cetera. They have a certain meal allowance every day. And that sort of simplifies it. It's still a lot more, it's more work than the way we'd previously done it, but it's streamlined quite a bit from there.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Fleming, any questions? No. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. It's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
We move to item 14, bid number 7425, high voltage cable system, one-time purchase.
Marvin Moon, Director of Power System Engineering.
Bassam Abu Shakra, Power System Engineering.
This purchase
Always
is
good to have a specific example. So.
Yeah, this is the purchase of the materials for the new Scattergood Olympic line, which is an underground 230 kV cable system that we're installing from our Scattergood generating station to our receiving station K, which is over by Bundy in West LA. This cable is being installed for reliability purposes and is coordinated in conjunction with the repowering that we currently have going on at Scattergood. If you recall, you approved a contract before for a conduit contract. We have a vendor out there currently working to install this long conduit system, and this is for the cable system and the splices and terminations as well. Soon after this, you'll be seeing a contract for the construction services to pull this cable in and put it in place. This cable is actually the largest underground transmission line west of the Mississippi. It's 5,000 kc mil. It's about as big as they make it. It weighs about 30 pounds a foot. So it's an extremely large and robust system.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
I was thrilled that the pricing went down.
Oh, tremendously.
Substantially.
And a responsive bidder.
Yes.
I think.
You know how to please. You know two ways to please Commissioner Noonan.
Well, one thing is when a company does business with us for a long time, they understand our spec. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is this is the first time we go out to bid on solar inverters as a larger spec, because we have a lot of jobs. So in the future, you see, if they're doing business with us, they understand our spec, they understand our system, and they will be in compliance. And we did receive 6 bids, so very competitive pricing.
Great work.
Other comments or questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. That was an easy one.
Thank you.
Nice job. Thank you. Okay, we have one speaker card for item number 15. Barbara, is that correct?
Yes, Dr. Tom Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, and full disclosure, LA 32 Neighborhood Council DWP liaison, but also a 20-year employee for the previous Parsons Corporation, Pasadena, and URS Corporation, San Mateo. Almost $60 million for 3 years. That's not bad. Some of our people in El Sereno may have a concept of what that means, but $20 million a year? That's roughly $6.5 million per consultant. This sounds like a little bit too much to have it all lumped into one program. And who's in charge of this? $6.5 million a year per consultant? Who's in charge? Who's going to watch it, especially since there's variable specifications and things like that, interpretations? But we're quite concerned about, is this just another joint consultant training or institute? So can't we break them up into somewhat more manageable parcels? I don't know. But $6.5 million per consultant per year. Thank you.
So we move to a discussion of item 15, which is award for enabling agreements number 47210A, 47210B, 47210C, 47212A, B, C, and 47213 A, B, and C, 9 agreements with Black & Veatch Corporation, URS Corporation Americas, Worley Parsons Group, and Integrated Engineers and Contractors Corporation.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is John Dennis. I'm the Interim Director of Power System Planning and Development, and I'd like to give some overview of what we're doing here with these enabling agreements. These are sizable, there's no doubt. But on the competition side, I'd like to say as well is that we had a solicitation that was highly competitive where we had 35 proposals that were received. We had 196 downloads, interests on this particular, these proposals. And the result is that we have 9 enabling agreements that are proposed in 3 particular categories of work to be done in the power system. The first category is in planning and development. The second one is in our transmission and generation. And the third category is engineering and technical services. So in one fashion, we have broken this down into several different areas for opportunities for the vendors to provide those services. But stepping back just a little bit, the purpose of these 9 enabling agreements is to hire intermittent as-needed consultants to provide engineering, technical, and training services to supplement and support the implementation of the power systems capital projects over the next 3 years. These services, again, will provide for short-term staffing peaks as projects rapidly progress, and they'll provide technical expertise and training of our in-house staff where emerging technologies are being considered, which will reduce future contract expenditures for these types of services. But as an overview and kind of coming up at the 20,000 foot level view of this, overall, our power systems capital program budget over the next 3 years for this period is $4 billion. That's our capital program, and there are various mandatory requirements that the capital program must meet. There is no option for us to meet on there. And some of those highlights are we have to increase our renewable resources to 25% by 2016 and 33% by 2020. We have to be successful in that. Secondly is we need to rebuild our coastal generating units. Third, we need to replace our coal generation. And fourth, we have some large transmission line replacements. Marv just had an example of that, of some of those programs. But we need help in doing some of that work and to make sure that it's successful. And last is that we've got some sizable system security requirements that are being imposed on us. In the next 90 days, new rules will be written for the electric utilities on a federal, on a statewide, and regional level that we must comply with. And at this point, we don't know what those will look like. We're working in the crafting of those rules for security, for both physical security and cyber security, but we will need help in getting those particular tasks accomplished. Very specifically, I mentioned about some of the projects that were underway, but we also have 6 large-scale solar and wind projects, and those will be coming to this board in the very near future for us to bring to you as well. We need help in shaping those and crafting those. We have our large Barron Ridge Renewable Transmission Project, and then we also have, as I mentioned, some large transmission system upgrades that are going to happen inside Los Angeles area, but also in the exterior areas. So we have, with regards to the this particular area, is bringing in these particular services, these 3 categories of enabling agreements, and this will be managed on a task assignment or task management basis. And so as we see tasks arise, we will then solicit those to these particular vendor groups. We will evaluate their proposals, and we will award those based on their adequacy of their responses to these particular tasks and the cost. So there is still, not only have they gone through the first filtering, if you will, of a competitive process, there is a second round to make sure that they are looking at very specific tasks that they'll be performed. All of those are subject to audit. This has been a typical format that we have used in the past for the successful completion of many of our projects in the power system to supplement our staff, and those have all gone through some forms of audit. Our findings on the audit are that our employees that are doing the contract administration, there have been no significant findings of any sort that are in there. I think the only exception on the last audit we had was that there are a couple of timesheets by the vendors that had not been signed, very easily correctable. So it's a very open process, again, as we award and consider those particular items. Lastly, I would just like to say is that there was a question came up about how do we ensure that value is derived from these enabling agreements? I think that's something for all of us to look at. And there's 4 areas just to bring up, and I mentioned some parts of that. The first is that these are task-based assignments. So all the work is performed under these contracts will be issued on a competitive task basis. Our task goals, objectives, the deliverables will be very clear in writing. Based on the category of work, each task will be issued on a competitive basis, and the vendor is selected of those 3 in those categories. So they're still competing. This process has been shown beneficial in achieving our best pricing and best qualified firms to perform those specific tasks. And then with those task-based assignments, we have process controls that will be followed by the contract administrator to ensure the protocol compliance and the quality of workmanship by the vendors. Secondly, we're answering the question about ensuring value is derived from these is on the audit. All of our work that's performed on these enabling agreements is subject to audit. We look at timesheets, work product, pricing, invoicing, vendor compliance, and all those are considered. Typically, our audits are performed by the department's internal audit team. And again, as I've indicated, they've come back with little or no issues on those audits. Third is, a big one, is successful completion, achievement, and completion of our critical and mandatory goals and objectives and programs. So this is how we see value. They're going to help us be successful in meeting very specific goals. They're a very deliverable requirement for our power system. So those, as I indicated, are meeting our RPS goal, our once-through cooling, our power system reliability program, and making sure we can get those in place. While the department maximizes the use of its in-house forces, our staff, there will be shortages of qualified staff to meet the rigor of all these mandates, and therefore the value of these services will be realized when the goals, projects, and programs are met. So we have the task-based assignments, the audit. Thirdly is successful completion. Fourthly is knowledge transfer. This is big for us. In the execution of these tasks, there will be provision for the contractor to provide our in-house staff with an understanding of the work being performed and a variety of training and knowledge transfer. Though the assignments will be widely varied, there still will be great benefit for the department to utilize the short-term expertise of contract professionals to train our newly hired engineers. We've seen our aging workforce. I'm one of those, and I would expect that perhaps during this next 3-year term, I'm going to retire as well. But during the next 3 years, it's highly probable, based on our employees' age and years of service, that the power system will lose a significant amount of its highly experienced engineering staff, supervision, and management to retirement. While there's significant efforts underway to hire more engineers, our past progress has indicated that the replacement rate of new hires will not keep up with just the numerical loss by retirement. And the numerical loss does not take into account the loss of our significant expertise. So our professional services will help fill those essential short-term staffing gaps while also training new hires to understand and perform the work. And then the last note I just want to mention, and that is that as we engage in some of these new areas of technology, there's going to be some things that are out there, cyber technology and different kinds of security services and evaluation. These vendors will examine our specifications and they'll identify opportunities for standardization, and we expect them to bring in a larger pool of suppliers as we look at new specifications and items that will come up during this next 3 year. So they'll bring in some fresh ideas of what we can look at and consider, even as you've discussed those this morning. So I'm available if you have any other particular questions on these particular items today before you.
I feel it was an outstanding presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Commissioner Fleming?
No, and I'd like to thank Mr. Wiggs for answering lots of questions that I think we probably all had, because this was a very large, complex, expensive matter. So thank you and your team for answering hours of questions.
I agree with both of the other commissioners. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's approved. Thank you. Thank you. We move to filed items. We have a speaker card on item number 19, the Water System Monthly Report. No? Okay. Mr. McDaniel, you have a report for us?
I didn't really have anything other than what's in the written report.
Commissioner questions? Okay. Do we have a speaker card on number 20?
Okay, Dr. Tom Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council BWP Liaison. One of the things that some of our people are interested in is rooftop solar. However, with all of our older buildings in our LA 32 Neighborhood Council area, we can't afford. We can't even afford to put a 3 to 5 kilowatt unit up. Why? because we have old buildings. So far, once the Board of Building and Safety said, oh, we're considering a counter permit, whatever happened to that? Did it ever come over to DWP? That is a standardized unit of 3 to 5 kilowatts for rooftop mounting, and that would be given a roofing permit and an electrical permit for older houses, so that those of us that really want to do something can really do it more easily. Would the Board of Water and Power encourage the department to consider a counter permit or work with Building and Safety to coordinate a standardized unit for individual single-family dwellings for rooftop mounting? There's a lot of issues, I know it's involved, but this was 3 years ago. Board of Building and Safety said that they were considering it. So far, nothing. For me, since I only have 4 pieces of 8.5 by 11 paper in Building and Safety, this is rather interesting, because it would cost me, I roughly estimated, $50,000 just to get the permits, applications, not counting what I'd have to do in order to support a rooftop solar panel. However, consider a rooftop solar panel as part of the contributions to the monthly production of electricity in basin, small units, times 500,000 structures. There's 500,000 structures out there. Make it easy, and we will try to improve the production within the basin. Thank you.
Thank you. Management report, filing the report on renewable portfolio standard projects update.
This is a monthly report you all get, and this was a format that was set up, I think, for prior boards. We certainly can work with you, see if you want some different information on how you may want this presented. This, of course, is the big deal here. This is what we're dealing with going forward. These mandates are going to be over about 70% of our revenue requirements going forward. So we want to be sure we're doing this right. We're on schedule. Everything's booked and set. We're going to bring you, John mentioned there's about 6 solar projects coming up next month. And we're doing, as Marcy's direction is, trying to get you that information well ahead of time so we can get you briefed on it and understand it, so we can keep those moving forward. But right now, we're on schedule, 20% now, bumped up to 25% by 2016, and then we have to get to 33% by 2020. The charts are back there. Obviously, we fill in the gaps with purchasing power as we need to. But again, I'll be happy to work with you on how you look at this, see if there's other ways you want us to give you this report on a monthly basis.
Questions?
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wicks. Before we go into closed session, we have one speaker card on closed session, item 21A2.
Okay, Dr. Tom Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, El Sereno, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, DWP Liaison. Issue within our neighborhood is DWP's credibility. The joint training issues have been a real problem. People don't trust DWP anymore, even with all of the problems of billing and things like that. But this is a more central one, because the unusual relationship of only the electrical union. I've always wondered, why isn't there a water union, plumbers union? Whatever happened there? And its unique relationship with the board, because you're in charge. I hope, but I don't know, because we don't have an organization chart. Who was in charge of these institutes? Was there any clear line of authority? When people ask me, I say, I don't know who was in charge. Nobody seems to know who's in charge. There's no organization chart online. There's nothing in the building other than the floor-by-floor directories. credibility. And for us, because you, like other government agencies, are going to be raising the rates. We know that. I know it. I've been around. Your water rates are, you might say, almost ludicrous on the low side. You can't pay for normal operations and maintenance. We had the issues of a 300-year replacement cycle. Even our people can understand if you don't repair or maintain the facilities, except for once every 300 years. I don't have to worry about it. Most of our people don't have to worry about it. But they see a relationship. The training institution, what I call it debacle, has seriously impaired the credibility of the board and the department. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, do you have any guidance for our moving into closed session?
Basically, that the board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon.
With that, we will move into closed session.